The smell hit Olea before the tray even touched her, table sweet at first, then sour, like milk left in the sun. She was 9, small headphones around her neck, braids neat, eyes bright from the window view. Her mom Keisha smiled to calm her, but the chicken salad looked gray, wet, wrong. Olea poked it, flinched, and whispered, "Mom, it's bad." The flight attendant's smile didn't reach her eyes. Keisha lifted the plastic lid, took one careful sniff, and her stomach dropped. "Excuse me," she said softly, waving the attendant back. "This food is spoiled." The attendant Mala name tag sheening tilted her head like Keisha was being difficult on purpose. "Ma'am, it's perfectly fine," Mala said, too loud, drawing stares. If you're watching EchoStory, tap like and subscribe, because what happens next turns a routine flight into a moment nobody forgets. Olea tried to be brave, but her lip trembled. Keisha kept her voice steady. "Please replace it. My daughter hasn't eaten since the airport." Mala's eyes flicked to other passengers, then back, cold and quick. "We're out of alternatives in economy," she lied, because Keisha could see rows ahead getting warm meals. Mala leaned closer and added under her breath, "She survived." Keisha felt heat rush to her face, not from anger, from humiliation. Across the aisle, an older white couple received fresh trays. The scent of warm bread floated back like a cruel joke. Olea watched, quiet, embarrassed, like she'd done something wrong. Keisha pressed the call button again. Mala returned slower this time, jaw tight. "Is there a problem?" she asked, already annoyed. Keisha pointed at the slimy salad. "Yes. This can make her sick." Mala shrugged. "Don't eat it then," and walked away. Keisha's hands shook as she pulled out her phone, not to create drama but to protect her child. She started recording the tray, the date stamp on the package, this strange greenish film. Olea whispered, "Mom, please." Keisha lowered the phone, kissed her forehead, and promised, "I got you." The cabin felt suddenly louder, laughter, ice clinking, someone's movie. Yet around Keisha a bubble of silence formed as people sensed something ugly unfolding. 2 rows behind them sat Jordan Mills, a quiet man in a navy hoodie with tired eyes. He'd flown for work his whole life and learned to mind his business. But he'd also grown up watching his little sister get treated different in places that swore they didn't see color. He leaned forward, catching Keisha's words, catching Mala's tone. When Mala passed again, Jordan calmly asked, "Can I speak to you for a second?" Mala ignored him like he was air. Keisha stood, blocking the aisle just enough to force attention. "I need a supervisor," she said. Mala's face tightened. "Sit down, ma'am, you're disrupting the cabin." Keisha's voice didn't rise. "My child was served spoiled food, and you refused to help." Mala's cheeks flushed, but her eyes stayed hard. "Maybe she's just picky," she snapped. Olea's eyes filled. Jordan pressed his call button, steady, like he'd done this before. A different flight attendant arrived, Ethio younger, kind of the type who said sir and meant it. He looked at the tray and recoiled before he could hide it. "Oh no," he murmured. "That's not okay." Mala cut in fast. "We don't have replacements." Theo's brows lifted. "We do, I loaded them." Mala's stare could have frozen water. Theo swallowed, then said louder, "Ma'am, I'm sorry. Let me fix this." Something shifted in the cabin. People straightened, listening. Theo hurried toward the galley. Mala followed, her heels sharp like warnings. Keisha sat back down, heart pounding, trying to look normal so Olea wouldn't feel like a problem. Olea stared at the window, pretending clouds were more interesting than the adults fighting over her dignity. Jordan quietly raised his phone now, not to go viral, but to make sure the truth didn't get twisted later. He whispered to Keisha, "I'm here. If you need a witness, you got one." In the galley, voices grew tense, muffled by the curtain. Then Theo returned alone, carrying a fresh meal and a small snack box, like he'd raided heaven. He set it down gently. "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry," he told Olea. "This is the correct tray." Olea gave a tiny nod, still shaken. Keisha exhaled until Mala appeared behind Theo, her smile sharp. "Enjoy," she said, as if she'd done them a favor, and walked off again. Olea took one bite, then stopped, nauseous from stress, more than food. Keisha's eyes stayed on Mala moving down the aisle, serving others with practiced warmth. The contrast burned. Jordan leaned out and quietly asked a nearby passenger, an off-duty nurse named Renee, "Did you hear what she said?" Renee nodded, lips pressed. "I did." The cabin had witnesses now, not just feelings. Up front, the intercom crackled. Theo had done what Mala didn't expect. He reported it. Captain Reynolds' voice came on, calm but firm. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're addressing a service issue. Please remain seated." The plane didn't turn around, but the energy did. People whispered. Phones slid into palms like secret weapons. Keisha felt both fear and relief, fear of being labeled difficult. Relief that someone with authority cared. Olea leaned into her mum. "Are we in trouble?" she asked. Keisha kissed her hair. "No, baby. Sometimes grown-ups get in trouble for being cruel." Marla approached again, this time with a brittle politeness. "Ma'am," she said, "the captain has been informed. Please stop recording." Keisha lifted her chin. "I'll stop when I'm sure my child is safe." Marla's eyes flicked to Olia, then away fast, like looking too long would feel like guilt. Jordan spoke up, voice even. He served spoiled food and told him to deal with it. That's what happened. Marla snapped. Sir, mind your business. Jordan didn't blink. It is my business now. Theo returned with a small bag. Captain asked me to collect a spoiled tray, he said, carefully. Keisha handed it over, making sure the package label faced outward. Theo nodded like he understood evidence. Thank you, he whispered. Marla's face tightened as if the tray was a crime scene, not a meal. Olia watched Theo walk away, and something softened in her expression, like she'd seen a stranger choose kindness even when it cost him something. Keisha realized that mattered too. Halfway through the flight, Olia's stomach cramped. Keisha's breath caught. Was it from one bite? Renee, the nurse, stood immediately. Let me check her, she offered. Olia's forehead was clammy. Keisha felt panic rising like a wave. Theo brought ginger ale and a cold cloth. I'm so sorry, he repeated, eyes wet with frustration. Meanwhile, Marla stayed near the back, arms crossed, watching like she was waiting to be proven right. Jordan murmured, she's not getting away with this. Captain Reynolds stepped out after landing, not in a rush, but in control, with 2 uniformed staff behind him. The cabin went quiet in that sharp, electric way. He walked straight to Keisha and knelt slightly to meet Olia's eyes. Hi, Olia, he said gently, reading her name from the manifest. I heard you had a rough flight. I'm sorry. Then he looked up at Keisha. Ma'am, thank you for reporting. We're taking this seriously. Behind him, Marla stiffened like a statue. The captain asked Theo to bring the sealed tray forward. He inspected the label, then spoke to the airline manager waiting at the gate. This is unacceptable, he said, voice low but absolute. And the reports aren't just about food. They're about how a child was treated. Keisha's throat tightened. She didn't want revenge. She wanted recognition that her daughter's pain counted. Jordan and Renee stepped forward as witnesses. We heard the comments, Renee said. We saw the refusal. The manager's face drained of color. Marla tried to speak, but the captain held up a hand. Quiet power. Not here, he said. Not over this family. The manager escorted Marla off the plane first, away from cameras, but it was too late for secrecy. Passengers had already shared the story, not with cruelty, but with outrage. In the terminal, Keisha's phone buzzed non-stop messages from strangers, local news alerts, support, anger. Keisha turned it off. Olia mattered more than the internet. Still, the world was finally listening. 2 days later, Keisha sat at her kitchen table with Olia coloring beside her, crayons scratching hope into paper. A call came from the airline's corporate office. The apology was formal, but the action was real. Marla had been suspended pending investigation. Theo was being commended for reporting, and the company promised a review of meal handling and discrimination training. Keisha listened, then said quietly, I don't need your words. I need your change. The representative paused. We understand. For once it sounded like they did. A week later, Aliyah walked into school wearing her favorite yellow hoodie, shoulders higher than before. The principal invited her to share a short message at assembly about speaking up when something feels wrong. Aliyah held the mic with both hands and said, I thought being quiet would keep me safe. But my mom used her voice, and strangers helped us. I'm not ashamed anymore. Keisha watched, tears warm, as Jordan and Renee, friends, sat in the back. EchoStory lives for moments like this, when cruelty meets courage, and courage wins.